I'd like to invite the children, anyone who's feeling a little bit childlike this morning, to come and rush headlong down to the front. Thank you. Come into the light. Oh, that's a long way down, and I'm sitting on my phone. Oh, that's awkward. Very uncomfortable. How are you guys doing? Beautiful day, isn't it? Beautiful day outside? Yep. You know, we have lots of ways of talking about how we know Jesus or how we know God. And one of those that's the most popular, most familiar from the Bible is shepherd. And we're the sheep. How do you feel about that? How do you feel like being a sheep? You were a sheep in a Christmas play once? So you have some experience being a sheep. You'd rather not use the metaphor? Okay, yeah. How about if you were another animal? Instead of a sheep, what would you like to be? If you could be any animal, what would you be? A snake? Okay. A snake? You'd be a peregrine falcon. That's very specific. I appreciate that.
They're the fastest bird when they swoop.
They're the fastest bird when they poop?
When they swoop.
Oh, swoop.
Yeah,
Swoop.
They go like swoop. They can go like
I was going to say, we all have to have our skills, man. Come on.
like 200 kilometers per hour.
Wow, that is fast. That is fast.
It's the fastest animal ever.
Yeah, that's what I said.
As fast as ever. Yeah, for sure. What would you like to be? A witch? A bull? A wolf. A wolf. Ooh, okay, a wolf. A wolf, a snake, and a peregrine falcon.
An orangutan might be nice too.
Oh, or an orangutan. Yeah,
A gibbon.
Yes.
or a gibbon. Yeah.
With, like,
Again, very specific. Yes.
they're awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, like, it'd be really interesting to be, like, can you imagine being, well, you can imagine being a sheep because you were a sheep in a play. But can you imagine actually being that? Like, where you'd live and how your life would be if you were those animals?
Is our brain power the same or like?
You mean, would you have human brain power but be an animal?
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry.
Just an animal.
Just an animal. Yep.
Well, I would feel like eating grass every day, and in the summer, I'd feel like I need to get my hair cut.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So you'd feel like you'd eat grass all the time, and then you'd feel like you'd need a haircut during the summer. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah, it's interesting to wonder sometimes about what if we were an animal? What would it actually be like to be a sheep? But you know, there's actually some traditions that have things called spirit animals, right? Which isn't exactly the same. It's not the animal you would be if you could be an animal, like because you want to be an animal. It's the animals that come to you and tell you stuff. So it can be more than one, right? So a wolf, you might see a wolf that tells you something, or you might see a bull that tells you something, or you might see a peregrine falcon that tells you something important. That's spirit animals. And we might see different animals for different things, which would be really cool too. Except for one thing. You'd have to understand what they were telling you, right? So
It's a little hard to do when you speak another language.
it's a little hard to do when you speak another language. You don't speak peregrine falcon, for example, or snake, or wolf. Then how would you know they were speaking to you?
They follow you around and get kind of annoyed with you when
They'd follow you around, yeah.
you tried to run away and then put them in an animal compound because there are strange sheep following you around every day in the middle of town.
Okay, all right. Yes. So your response would be they'd follow you around, you get annoyed with them, and then you'd lock them up somewhere.
Well, not lock them up. I might put them in a pasture.
You might put them in a pasture, or like if it was sheep, you might put them in a sheep pen,
Yeah.
or a sheep fold, I think we call it, right?
I wouldn't want to like put shackles around their legs. That
No, you wouldn't want to lock them up. No, you'd put them in a sheepfold because you'd be caring about them. But how would you understand what they were trying to tell you? Are you sure?
Showing you stuff.
You'd have to have a connection, right? You'd have to know somehow, like you'd have to be open to be connected to them.
Maybe they'll like ask you. Maybe they'll like try and get you to follow them or something.
They might, like Lassie. That was before your time. But remember Lassie? Lassie was always going to somebody and saying no, getting them to follow because somebody, Timmy fell down a well. Remember? No. Okay, it's before your time. But I hear what you're saying. It's the same idea, right? But you'd have to have some kind of connection where you could figure out, without having to know the language, you could figure out that they were trying to tell you something, right? And that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing about this image of the sheep and the shepherd thing in the Bible, is that it doesn't depend on you knowing exactly the right words or being able to understand the words. It depends on us being connected enough to understand what's at the heart of those words, right? So you might not be able to speak fluent sheep, although you might because you played one in a play, right? Yeah. Yeah. And being a sheep, I'm sure, wouldn't be bad. You experienced that.
I actually had to have some people lay on my wool for a pillow. So I mean.
Will you be okay with that?
I was fine.
That's my last one, I swear. It's about being connected, is what it's all about, right? Is knowing that there's a connection there. And the sheep and the shepherd thing is a really important one because it's about how the shepherd takes care of the sheep and doesn't chain them up, but puts them in the sheepfold, right? Just like you were talking about. Or might put them in a pasture where they'd be safe and takes care of them. There's a connection. And they don't necessarily have to speak the right language to be able to know what that connection is, right? Because the sheep know that the shepherd cares. I think that's pretty cool, don't you?
Sure.
Yeah, we're all connected. We're all family. Let's sing a song. Thanks so much for listening, guys.